Yep, it's time for another Kanye video, y'all. Because in the last video, I criticized a lot of the stuff that he's been doing recently. And while I still dislike a lot of the stuff he does, I still really love this man's music. Like, for real. Even though I'm still an inexperienced music listener, I know for a fact I'm still going to be bumping this man's tunes 100 years from now on my deathbed, reminiscing on the intricacies and the genius of his lyrics. Like, for instance, what did he mean when he said he can focus on two things at once on all minds? I still think the world scientists are trying to figure this one out. Anyway, let's get into the album ranking. I'm basing this ranking off of two things: how good I thought it personally was, and also how good I think it is sort of on an objective point of view. Starting off, we have the albums that I think are just kind of mid, honestly. Like, I got no real hate towards these albums, but most of the time you won't ever really see these in my rotation except for a couple songs. And I'd like to start this list off with mentioning Donda 2. I'd even include it in my last video when I did that little ranking in the description, which, by the way, I'm not gonna follow the exact rankings as that, as I changed my mind about a few placements. As when you start listening to the album, you start realizing, wait a minute, this ain't finished. This entire album is just a collection of really good songs and a bunch of unfinished songs. And this ain't like The Life of Pablo, where he's gonna eventually update it. It's been over a year, and with all that's happened, the album remains unfinished. And look, maybe it's because I had to listen to it on YouTube on what is essentially a pirated copy, because the only way to actually listen to the album is with a stem player. So perhaps I didn't actually get the full experience or hear the real version. But bro, there is no way my broke ass is paying $1,000 for an album that's unfinished. So really, there is nothing else I can actually do except to put it in the unfinished and unhappy sad tier. Anyway, next up, Jesus is King. Now, I got a little bit of flack for putting this as my least favorite Kanye album in my last ranking, and since then I still think it's my least favorite Kanye album. Like, I re-listened to this recently and I still think it's just kind of okay. Like, there is still good songs I like on the album, but that don't make up for the fact that some of the lyrics that he's spitting are kind of whack. Like, every single time I hear the "you my Chick-fil-A" line, it just makes me want to give up, man. And look, I just want to say this for the record: Kanye, no matter how much power and fame you get, you ain't Moses, man. As much as I absolutely love your music, you ain't a prophet, bro. And especially after hearing what could have been with this album with Yandi and whatnot, I just feel kind of sad. And because of that, I'm putting this into the C tier, with my favorite tracks being Every Hour, On God, and Everything We Need. Next up is Cruel Summer, and I actually put this over Jesus is King because even though it's just a compilation album for the record label rather than a personal album for Kanye, its best songs are so much better. Like, bro, how you gonna tell me anything on Jesus is King beats Don't Like with Chief Keef, New God Flow with Ghostface Killah, or even motherfucking Mercy with Pusha T? Even though these tracks have long last hit their peak in popularity, I still be moving and grooving to these tracks, hitting the damn sprinkler at the function, procreate by means of reproduction, all of that because these songs are that good. At least some of them are. And I actually can't put this higher in the list because it's not technically a full Kanye album, but still pretty damn good album overall. I'm gonna give it a low B tier, with my favorite songs being Don't Like, New God Flow, and Mercy. And now we're approaching the good albums that I think are actually pretty good, such as Ye, which is actually, in my personal opinion, the most underrated Kanye album. Like, most Kanye fans don't talk about it from what I can see, even though it has a good solid set of tracks on there. Though I still understand why, I suppose, since this album mainly delves into Kanye's mental health at the time, which I actually think is a very interesting topic. Like, bro, there aren't a whole lot of other hip-hop artists, or even just celebrities for that matter, that have personalities as interesting as Ye does. And delving into his complex state of mind at this time, I actually think is very fascinating. Also, as I said before, I think the lyrics are pretty funny too. Solid B tier, with my favorite songs being Yikes, Violent Crimes, No Mistakes, and Ghost Town. Watch the Throne. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too crazy about this album compared to other people, as I don't really mess with songs like Who Gon' Stop Me and Welcome to the Jungle that much. But damn, if this album does not have some of the most classic hip-hop tracks in history, bro. Otis and No Church in the Wild, bro. Songs like these really show the grip Kanye and Jay-Z had on the game at that time. And as a black man myself, when I hear the song that is People in Paris, and I hear about Kanye and Jay-Z playing that song 13 times in a row at a concert, I become mad. Because why the hell would they ever ever play it 13 times when they could have played it 13,000 times until all the audience could hear was Ball So Hard Cause When I Find Me ringing in their eardrums. Damn good album. I'm gonna put it in the high B tier, with my favorite songs being No Church in the Wild, Otis, and Made in America. Donda, Donda, Donda. This was the first album of Kanye that released where I actually listened to it the day it came out. And because of that, it has a nice place in my heart, right next to Twizzlers and those Instagram videos of hot guys making a delicious plate of food for me to eat. Like, for real, bruh. Hearing this album come out after all the hype, the listening parties, the crazy fits, and also the leaks that were coming out, it was just a great experience, man. For me, it was like a perfect combination of the life of Pablo, Yeezus, and the good parts of Jesus is King. And despite a few filler songs that are kind of automatic skips for me as they drag out a bit too long, also the part 2s are pretty unnecessary, the album, it slaps, man. This will be the last album I put in the B tier, with my favorite songs being Jail, Believe What I Say, Hurricane, Jesus Lord, and No Child Left Behind, which I just adore, bruh. Alright, now we're entering the GOAT territory. Every single album now beyond this point, I've got very little, if any, criticism for. They are just that good. Ain't nobody got any albums as good as these, man. Except for a few rappers, I suppose. First off, 808s and Heartbreak. Have you ever been broken up with or rejected by your crush before in your life? For the 5% of my viewers that have ever talked to a woman, they know the feeling, and as a man who went through that before, I know what it feels like to listen to this album on repeat thinking, damn, I guess this is just how it is. And of course, ever since this album came out, it's had a humongous influence on the rap game. Like, you can literally make a tree of people who have just been influenced by this one album alone. And my dad has been playing songs from this album since I was a younger boy. So I basically have these songs running through my bloodstream at this point. In my eyes, this is a very easy A. And I know some people would put it higher, but in my personal opinion, I believe the albums above this are just, at the very least, a smidge better. My absolute favorite tracks are Say You Will, Welcome to Heartbreak, Amazing, and probably my most favorite, Streetlights. Now, some people might find this next pick to be absolutely blasphemous, but I don't really care, to be honest. I honestly think that Yeezus is very near to being a masterpiece, alright? It is so good, bruh. Like, if I was basing this entire list on the influence these albums have had on me, it would be higher. Maybe it's just my stupid, death grip sound loving ears of mine that just makes me jump and groove like a monkey when I hear these sounds. But God, man, I just love this album so much. Like, the only other set of music that has made me feel as powerful and unstoppable as this album makes me feel is probably Death Grips. And while I'm not going to get into the argument of people saying that Kanye stole from them, because I don't really care, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, I just love this industrial and experimental hip hop sound. And the way Kanye does it on this album, I just love it, bro. Is it not for everyone? Yeah, it's not. Am I putting more of my bias into this placement than I probably should? Yeah, but that's still not going to stop me from putting it in the A tier, man. Favorite songs from this album are On Sight, New Slaves, Blood on the Leaves, I'm In It, and Bound To. With me being a newer and younger Kanye fan, I wasn't around to listen to the majority of Kanye album releases. Still, I remember the vibe of 2016 very, very well. And when I listened to The Life of Pablo, well, I mean, just like IGN says to every single superhero game, it really makes you feel like 2016. Like, I just love the energy of this album, and I'd imagine that the tour must have been insane, at least whenever he wasn't going on rants and going to the hospital. I actually don't even have too much to say about this album, except it's a jam, and y'all should go listen to it if you haven't, and experience that 2016 party energy that was really popular with music in that year. My favorite songs being Father Stretch My Hands, which I overplayed and I still haven't gotten tired of, Famous, Wolves, Facts, Charlie Heat version, No More Parties in LA, which I love that Kendrick feature, and Saint Pablo. Real quick, I want to take a look into the far away and stupid ass past where I first listened to this album. As soon as it was over, I was like, dang, that was okay, I guess. And then I went along with the rest of my day. actually thinking that. Now, I have re-listened to this album multiple times since then, and I've gone away from that horrible stance of being entirely knocked out and asleep on top of that album. It just took me a little bit longer to appreciate how many hits that this album had, especially for Kanye's debut album. Like, man, the soul samples, the beats, the important messages about family and civil rights, it really does hit hard. And I am proud to say that my opinion has, at the very least, matured enough for me to put this in a very solid A tier. In my opinion, the best songs from this album are We Don't Care, Spaceship, Through the Wire, All Falls Down, and my most played song from this album, Two Words. Now, I personally believe that Late Registration is a little bit stronger than the College Dropout, just because I enjoy the hits on the album more, and also I feel Kanye's production was a little bit more refined here. Or maybe it's just the fact that I set an hour each day set just to listen to We Major and dance in my room for a bit. Maybe it's just that, who knows? Or maybe it's just the fact that I've had some of these samples just playing over and over in my head for entire days. Like for real, I had the song I'm on my way home just playing over and over and over, and I was like, damn, I think it's a kind of a good song now. My final A tier pick, and I can't really choose any particular favorites from this album because every single song on here has been in my head and just bumping at some point or another. Really just another testament to Kanye's beauty in production and also consistency in just making good music. Like, me personally, I wouldn't hold Kids See Ghost up on a huge pedestal as high as someone like, I don't know, Anthony Fantano would. Like, I think it's an amazing album. Like, truly amazing album. Not my favorite, but still absolutely great spiritual album that just explores a lot of themes of mental health and spirituality and many other important themes, all of which I think Kid Cudi and Kanye explore very well in this album. The psychedelic and fiery production of the album really gives you an out-of-body experience like no other. Like, if you're looking for spiritual and mental psychedelic music to mess with, listen to this and also Awaken My Love, because like, bro, these two albums, just wow, chef's kiss from me. I can't really choose any particular favorites from this album because they're all just really good, but I do gotta say, Reborn, all right, man, Reborn, goddamn, bro, I better hear this song when I die, because if I do, I will have the best, most peaceful resolution of any human to ever exist in this mortal plane in existence. Alright, for real, play that shit when I die. S tier. Alright, so I think you guys already know what these last two picks are gonna be, and for my second best pick, I'm gonna have to personally go with Graduation. Y'all have probably seen the meme that went like, oh, but he made Graduation. And while I get it's a joke and stuff, honestly, bruh, in some weird moral way, I think just the fact that you made this album, at the very least, gives you the kind of ego and bragging rights that Kanye does sometimes. Or really all the time, but still. Full album, front to back, bangers. No skips whatsoever, alright? And look, I know plenty of people out there dislike songs like Barry Bonds or Drunken Hot Girls. And you know what? I used to feel the same about those songs. I used to also dislike them to a certain extent, but then I re-listened to them and I realized what it was like to be a sheep and have the most basic ass opinion known to man. Nah, I'm just playing. I totally get if you dislike these songs. They're definitely not the best in Kanye's catalog, but over time I've personally come to appreciate them a little bit more, and honestly, I don't think it brings down the whole album a whole lot. Solid S tier in my opinion, and the whole album, as I said, amazing, you know, though Good Morning, Stronger, and Flashing Lights have a special place in my heart. Alright. And it's time for the very final and top placement of my Kanye album ranking tier list. Can I get a drum roll, please? The best Kanye album. It's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think you guys already knew this at this point. I mean, what else could it be? And yeah, it is like the #1 choice for the top Kanye album for a lot of Kanye fans out there. But honestly, I personally can't think of any other project he's done that's higher in my mind than this. The highs of this album, which are pretty much all over the record by the way, are incredible, man. Like, the amount of times I overplayed these songs to myself is astounding. More than Yeezus, more than The Life of Pablo, more than Graduation, more than anything, man. Or at least anything that Kanye has made for the most part. Devil in a New Dress is one of the most repeated songs for me period. Just something about the beauty of the sample in this song is so good. Kanye's verse is so good. Rick Ross's verse is so good. Do you guys remember at the very beginning of the video when I was talking about music I'd be hearing way later on when I'm on my deathbed? This album is full of just exactly that. 80 years from now, I'll be on my bed, still waiting for the next Frank Ocean record, just reminiscing on the beauty and the amazingness that this album has, which I understand that the album is flawed still, by the way, but still, to me, it does not take away at all from the influence that this album has had on me. But who knows, maybe my opinion will change on this album later on, as well as the other rankings in this list. As I've stated many times before, I'm a pretty new music listener, and I got a lot more music to listen to and actually grow taste for. But anyways, you guys leave your opinions about my list down in the comments. I'll definitely read some of them. Also, it'd be nice if you tell me who you think I should rank their albums next. Maybe I'll do like a Death Grips video or a Kendrick Lamar video. Who knows? Anyway, that's the end of the video. Y'all have a good night.